to hang out with me. I don't know why. You know what? He's in the shit house today because he had to leave early today to go take his girlfriend to the airport. No, I don't have to tell him what I did. But you don't tell your kids what you did. You just give them for what they did.
7 o'clock. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Kent County Levy Court business meeting at 555 Bay Road, Dover, Delaware. This is Tuesday, May 25th, 2021, from the Levy Court chambers. Before we proceed with the business meeting, I'll turn meeting over to the county administrator, who will explain the rules for phone-in calls and WebEx.
Thank you, Mr. President. You're not used to seeing me up on the dais for a while. Been out in the audience for a long time. Yes, this meeting being conducted here at 555 Bay Road in Dover is also being broadcast via WebEx over the internet for people to join in the meeting if they wish to join us virtually or remotely. And throughout the meeting, there will be opportunity for public comment, and at those junctures in the meeting, we will invite the public, our guests on WebEx, to provide comment if they choose to do so. We'll provide some instruction, but right now, for the first time, I'll inform the WebEx visitors that if they're on a computer, they can unmute themselves by pressing *6. There's also a unmute button at the bottom of your screen if you're following along WebEx on a computer. If you're on a mobile phone, you can press *3 to raise an electronic hand, *6 to unmute yourself as well. And our operator is monitoring all those guests that we have on WebEx, and we'll provide additional instruction, as I mentioned, as the meeting proceeds. This is an official proceeding of the Levy Court, and as such, it's being operated under the Mason's Rules of Order, along with the adopted Levy Court Rules of Procedure for public business meetings. Mr. President, turn the floor back to you.
Thank you. As we call the meeting to order, I'll ask Commissioner Howell for the invocation, Commissioner Angel for Pledge of Allegiance, and Commissioner Sweeney for a moment of silence for our troops and first responders. All rise, please.
Heavenly Father, tonight we recognize your presence and ask you to guide us in all of our proceedings. In Jesus' name, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence to honor our military members, law enforcement officers, firefighters, paramedics, and other first responders who have lost their lives in the line of duty, protecting and fighting for our freedoms. We also honor all first responders and medical staff who have succumbed to COVID-19 virus complications contracted through close interaction with infected patients, losing their lives and caring for others. Please remember all these individuals and their families in your thoughts and prayers as they deal with the loss of their loved ones. Deputy Sheriff Samuel Alexander Leonard, Concho County Sheriff's Office, Texas. Sergeant Stephen Jones, Concho County Sheriff's Office in Texas. Police Officer Jimmy Inn, Stockton Police Department, California. Police Officer Chris Oberheim, Champaign Police Department, Illinois. Police Officer Jeremy Brinton, Nogales Police Department, Arizona. Corporal Thomas Wade Frazier, Artesia Police Department, New Mexico. Police Officer Scotty Triplett from the Memphis Police Department, Tennessee. Detective Stephen Arnold, Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office, Louisiana. Conservation Officer Sarah Grell, Minnesota Department of Natural Resources Enforcement in Minnesota. Also firefighter Ricardo Torres, New Haven Fire Department in Connecticut. Thank you.
Ms. Tanaka, can we have a roll call, please, to determine quorum?
Mr. Angel,
Present.
Mr. Buxton,
Present.
Mr. Hall,
Present.
Mr. Howell,
Here.
Mrs. Maston,
Present.
Mr. Sweeney,
Here.
Mr. Pepper.
Here.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 present.
Thank you. We do have a quorum. Excuse me. Need a motion on consent agenda. Or no, excuse me, we need a motion for the adoption of the agenda. Excuse me.
So move, Mr.
Adopt the
President.
agenda.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Sweeney, second by Commissioner Angel. Roll call, please.
Mr. Angel,
Yes.
Mr. Buxton,
Yes.
Mr. Hall,
Yes.
Mr. Howell,
Yes.
Mrs. Maston,
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney,
Aye.
Mr. Pepper.
Yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 yeas.
Thank you. The agenda has been adopted. Need a motion for the consent agenda, please.
So move, Mr. President.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Angel, second by Commissioner Sweeney. We have a roll call on the consent agenda, please.
Mr. Angel,
Yes.
Mr. Buxton,
Yes.
Mr. Hall,
Yes.
Mr. Howell,
Yes.
Mrs. Maston,
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney,
Yes.
Mr. Pepper.
Yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 yeas.
Thank you. The consent agenda has been approved for this evening. We'll move on to presentations. Employee of the Month for June of 2021. Mr.
Kent County Department heads have selected Gina N. Hamilton from the Department of Finance as the June 2021 Employee of the Month. Gina currently serves as a tax clerk 3 in the tax office and has worked for Kent County since June 2016 when she was hired as an entry-level tax clerk 1. Her primary duties include serving as team leader and assisting with training of new tax office staff, as well as overseeing the monitions process for collecting delinquent taxes and sewer, preparing and submitting daily bank deposits, verifying tax and sewer account payments for accuracy and proper account application, managing the mortgage company escrow correspondence, assisting the sheriff's office by providing account information for mortgage foreclosures, and prepares and submitting refund requests for overpayments on tax accounts, among other duties. According to Director of Finance Susan Durham, Gina is extremely organized and works diligently through the cumbersome monitions process. She is what we like to call our resident tax expert and assists all staff with more complex account issues. She is always eager to learn and welcomes change whenever necessary. Her selection as Employee of the Month is an honor Gina well deserves. Congratulations, Gina, on a job well done. And she resides in Commissioner Sweeney's and Pepper's districts. The tribute reads: Kent County Levy Court, June 2021, Employee of the Month, Gina N. Hamilton. On this, the 25th day of May 2021, the Levy Court of Kent County, State of Delaware, does hereby recognize Gina N. Hamilton, Tax Clerk 3, Department of Finance, Tax Office, for her exceptional initiative, dedication, and conscientiousness in the delivery of services to the citizenry of the county.
All right, I do believe Gina is here. I'm used to looking for people behind masks, and Mrs. Durham, you want to come forward too?
Good evening. It was a easy choice to bring Gina forth for the Employee of the Month. She's been with us 5 years and has worked her way through the ranks in the tax office and been one of my go-to people. She's helped train, I don't know, 8 people now, among other things. But she's willing to do anything that we ask her to do, and has a good attitude, and we really count on her a lot and appreciate very much her efforts and her very strong work ethics and abilities. So thank you so much for a job well done.
Thank you, Susan. Any commissioners have comments? Mr. Sweeney?
Thank you, sir. So, Gina, I'm a numbers guy, and it sounds like you're a numbers person too, so I can greatly appreciate you getting this award. Congratulations, and thanks for keeping us straight.
Any other commissioners? Mr. Maston?
Congratulations, Gene, on a job well done. Keep it up.
Any other commissioners? Gina, congratulations, and I'm sure you deserve this. Susan really looks at people really closely before she recommends anybody for just about anything. So I'm sure that you really deserve this award, and we appreciate everything that you do for the county. So thank you very much. Thank you. Shelby here? I don't think so. So are we going to do that tonight, or?
Sorry. We need to have the vote on the resolution, but Ms. Miller will not be with us this evening.
Okay.
This is
Resolution 3886. Mr. Naka, can you read that for us, please?
retirement of Shervina Y. Miller. Whereas the retirement of Shervina Y. Miller, an employee of Kent County, State of Delaware, from her duties as Paramedic 2, Department of Public Safety, Emergency Medical Services Division, presents a suitable opportunity for expressing the esteem in which we hold Shervina Y. Miller as a good and faithful public servant. Therefore, be it resolved that the County of Kent express its warmest appreciation and thanks to Shervina Y. Miller for the able and loyal manner in which she performed her public duties. Be it further resolved that this resolution be her evidence of a right to the pension provided by the Kent County Employees Retirement Program, and that this resolution be and hereby is incorporated into the official minutes of the May 25th, 2021 meeting of the Kent County Levy Court.
Thank you. Need a motion?
Move to approve Resolution 3886.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Sweeney, second by Commissioner Maston to approve Resolution 3886. Can we have a roll call, please, on the motion?
Mr. Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Buxton?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Maston?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Pepper?
Yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 yeas.
Thank you. Roll call reveals Resolution 3886 has been approved, and this makes it official. Shervina Y. Miller has officially retired from the county. I hate to see her go. She's got a lot of years' experience, and the chief speaks very highly of her and says she's always been a great employee. So, Chief, make sure you get these documents to her, and appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, and from what I understand, there's no introductions this evening. Okay. All right, at this time, we'll open the public hearings. And first item is petitions for conditional use approval. First item, Mr. Sweeney, turned over to you.
Thanks, sir. Ms. Kiefer is queued up and ready to go.
Good evening, Commissioners. First, just a brief word about how the hearings tonight will be conducted. This public hearing is being conducted for the purpose of giving the citizens of the county the opportunity to present testimony on the applications before the Levy Court. Everyone will have an opportunity to speak. All statements are to be made from the podium at the front of the room. For the record, please give your name and address. Copies of any written statements or exhibits used during the hearing should be presented for identification and inclusion in the record. For each application before the Levy Court, the president will introduce the application. Then the Levy Court will receive testimony from all of those in favor. Testimony will then be received from those who may be opposed. After everyone has had an opportunity to speak, the hearing on the application will be closed, and the Levy Court will take what action it deems appropriate. Levy Court's decision will be based upon public hearing testimony given at this meeting and a recommendation submitted to the Levy Court by the Regional Planning Commission. I would ask that that recommendation be included by reference in the permanent record of this meeting established by the Clerk of the Peace. The public notice of this hearing was published in the May 7th, 2021 edition of the Delaware State News. The first application before the Levy Court is conditional use C2102. It's an application for a billboard. The site is 0.13 acre on the west side of Route 13, just south of Webb's Lane, south of Dover, inside the growth zone. The site is zoned BG, general business. The Regional Planning Commission took testimony on this application at their May 6th hearing, and at their May 13th business meeting, voted unanimously to recommend conditional approval, citing that the application does indeed meet all of the requirements of our zoning ordinance. So again, this comes with a recommendation for approval. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions? Don't see any. Thank you. At this time, we open the public hearing for application C2102. And I'll ask anyone that's here in favor of this application to please come forward and present your testimony after giving your name and address for the court, for the Levy Court record.
Dale McAllister, 2015 South DuPont Highway, Dover, Delaware.
Mr. McAllister, good evening. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, sir?
I do.
Thank you.
I'm here tonight looking for a billboard approval for a parcel that used to be what you guys would know as Gary's Tattooing, Little Gary's. It's 2 doors down from the Touchdown Restaurant. Tat 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 is an LLC which is owned by Donna Figueroa. She owns the Touchdown. She's a longtime neighbor of Gary's. Gary wanted to sell it. She bought it from Gary, and her intent is to install a billboard there and to gravel the lot. When we get done with the dirt, we're going to level out the lot, and she's going to gravel it. At the Planning Commission, I was asked if she had any other plans, and I said not that I was aware of. I went back and asked her, and she has no other plans with the lot. All she wants to do is gravel it. So it's going to be a gravel lot just north of her business. Her son had the pool doctor right there. They used to use that as parking. Her son has moved out of that building and is in the process of trying to buy the building just right next to B&B. And you'll see there's a new sign up for the pool doctor there. So Ralph has moved out of that building. The other question that came up from the Regional Planning Commission is, are we going to block any other billboards? The other billboards are real far away. I think part of the intent of that question was, are we going to block any other signage? We have Scotty's Muffler just to the north. Their sign's very small and close to the road. And then to the south of where this structure is the old pool doctor sign in the green egg. It's lower to the ground and it's close to the road. We have a 25-foot setback. That one's approximately 15. The county code is written that if a sign is smaller, it can be closer to the road, just has to be shorter. And the other sign that we could potentially block would be the Touchdown, which we're not going to block that as well. She's shorter than we are. We'll be 35 feet high and 25 feet back. Coming the other way, we will not be blocking any of the restaurants to the south of it, to the north of us. So the highest and best use for this small property, we feel, is a billboard. The staff agreed, so the Planning Commission. It's a tiny parcel. By tearing down the house, I don't know what kind of setbacks we'd have to meet or ponds or anything else if we put something else there. So really nothing else we can do with the property, I feel, other than gravel it and put a billboard on it. Open for any questions that you might have.
Any questions? Commissioner Sweeney.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. McAllister, In your testimony at the RPC, you mentioned a lot of the things that could go up on the electronic boards. Who makes that decision? You
I
or
do.
Mrs.? You do? So you'll approve anything that would go up there? That's a message, whether it's, you know, for seniors graduating or whatever.
Right now, we're talking to, as of today, because we had a positive staff recommendation, nobody really wants to advertise until we know we have it, but the Delaware State Fair wants it. They want it for the month of July. They want to put up all the fair information. I can tell you right now, Touchdown's going on it. Local bands are going to go on it. With July opening up, we want to put local artists, you know, that we're open. We're going to do some public service to start it off, and community service work. But as a local member of the community, there won't be anything offensive.
Right, I get that. There's a lot of other structures right there between Governor's Avenue and Route 13. So there's a lot of light already on the residences that are on Governor's Avenue as part of Rodney Village. But if we get a complaint later about light issues, are you able to dim it down?
Yes, we can.
All right, thank you.
And it dims down automatically at night.
Right.
What people don't realize is these electronic message centers have to have a sensor in them. If they're too bright at night, you can't read them. I hate to, in 1988, 89, I got that lesson at Dover Air Force Base. I put a red one up at the main gate. That night I went out there, I couldn't read it. And it was the sensor. The sensor wasn't working right. So if they're too bright, you don't read them. They have to be right in the daytime to deal with the ambient light, and they have to have an automatic dimmer in them at night or else they won't work. Also, our neighbors there is Scotty. The way the board's gonna be structured, it's gonna have a V shape, so the light won't go back. It'll come out to the street. And we have Scotty on one side, the pool doctor on the other, and along that stretch of highway, the way the board's gonna be angled, none of that ambient light will hit back. And the only other thing we plan on doing is that we do plan on lighting up the parking lot or the gravel lot underneath of it to light up that area at night.
Perfect, thanks, Dale.
Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, no more questions, thank you. Anyone else here that's in favor of this application? Anyone else here in favor? Or anyone on the phone in favor?
If we have any WebEx visitors to the meeting and they want to speak on this matter, if you're on a phone, you can press *6 to unmute yourself, and we'll bring you into the meeting. If you're on a computer, you can unmute yourself with the icon at the bottom of the screen.
We have no one at this time on WebEx.
Okay. At this time, we'll ask for anyone that is opposed to application C-2102. Anyone that is opposed, please come forward. Seeing no one in the audience, anyone on WebEx or on the phone?
If you're on WebEx, same instructions. *6 will unmute you on a phone, and the unmute button at the bottom of your screen.
Again, no takers.
Okay, any commissioners have any questions before we close the public hearing? Seeing none at this time, we'll close the public hearing, and I'll turn it over to Commissioner Sweeney.
Thank you, sir. Move to approve application C-21-02, First State Signs Tat LLC for billboard. Based on RPC approval, staff recommendation for approval, no public opposition, and the opportunity for Ms. Figueroa to generate revenue from an otherwise empty lot.
Second motion.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Sweeney, second by Commissioner Angel. And unless there's any commissioners have any questions, seeing none, can we have roll call, please, on the motion?
Yes. Mr. Angel?
Yes, reason stated by Commissioner Sweeney.
Mr. Buxton?
Yes, reason stated, no public opposition.
Mr. Hall?
Yes, per our Regional Planning Commission and staff recommendations.
Mr. Howell?
Yes, reasons stated.
Mrs. Maston?
Yes, reason stated.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes, per my motion.
Mr. Pepper?
Yes, for all reasons stated.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 yeas.
Thank you. Roll call reveals that application C-2102 has been approved by Levy Court. Thank you. Continuing on with our public hearings with petitions to amend the zoning map, Mrs. Maston, ordinance LC 2109.
Mrs. Kiefer, are you ready?
Ordinance LC 2109 is an ordinance amending the county's zoning map. The site is 3/4 of an acre on the west side of North Main Street, north of Duck Creek Parkway, just west of Smyrna, inside the growth zone. It's currently zoned RS1, single-family residential, and the proposal is to rezone it to RMH, residential manufactured home. The comprehensive plan designation does not change. It remains medium-density residential. The Regional Planning Commission took testimony on this application at their May 6th hearing, and at their May 13th business meeting, voted unanimously to recommend approval, citing that the application indeed complies with the comprehensive plan, and it is compatible with the area. So again, this comes with a recommendation for approval. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Kiefer? Seeing none, thank you. At this time, we'll open the public hearing for ordinance LC 2109. And I'll ask anyone in the audience to please come forward that's in favor of this. Anyone in the audience in favor, please come forward.
Hello.
Please give your name and address and be sworn or affirmed by the attorney.
My name is Adiri Sam Cordero Torres, 15 Fairwind Place, Dover, Delaware. And I
Ms. Corder Torres, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I mean, I swear, yes.
Thank you. Proceed.
Oh, proceed. Yeah, so I bought this because it is 30 seconds away from my cousin's house right down the road, and it was my intention to build my own home there, and come to find out I couldn't because it wasn't zoned appropriately, so I hope to resolve that matter tonight. Thank you.
Any questions? Seeing no questions, thank you very much.
Thank you. Good evening.
Anyone else in the audience in favor? Anyone else in the audience in favor? Or anyone on the phone or WebEx in favor?
Any visitors on WebEx that wish to address the Levy Court on this matter, press star 6 to unmute yourself on a phone or the unmute button on your computer.
No one in favor on WebEx.
Okay, seeing no one else in favor. Anyone opposed? Anyone in the Levy Court chambers opposed? Please come forward. Seeing no one. Anyone on WebEx or on the phone?
If you're on WebEx, same sign. On a phone, star 6 will unmute you, and at your computer, you can unmute yourself with the icon.
No one in opposition on WebEx.
Okay, seeing no one in opposition. Any commissioners have any questions for a closed public hearing? Seeing no one. Closed public hearing on ordinance LC 21-09 and turn it over to Commissioner Maston.
I make a motion to approve ordinance LC 21-09 to amend the official zoning map of Kent County, Delaware pursuant to the provisions of Kent County Code, Volume 2, Chapter 205, Zoning, Article 3, Section 205-8, Section 205-9, and Article 28, changes and amendments, effective December 1st, 2000, Z2101, Adiras M. Corderas Torres. For all the reasons stated, RPC supports and staff recommends.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Maston, second by Commissioner Sweeney. Unless there's any questions, can we have roll call, please, on the motion?
Yes. Mr. Angel.
Yes, reasons stated by Commissioners Maston.
Mr. Buxton.
Yes, for reasons stated.
Mr. Hall.
Yes, for reasons stated.
Mr. Howell.
Yes, for reasons stated.
Mrs. Maston.
Yes, for reasons stated.
Mr. Sweeney.
Yes, for all reasons stated, and good luck.
Thanks for all reasons stated and no opposition. Thank you.
Mr. Pepper is a yes.
Yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 yeas.
Thank you. Ordinance LC 2109 has been approved. Okay. The next item on the agenda is Mr. Howe, Resolution 3883.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ms. Gold would like to just clarify a few things on this.
Sure. Mark, would you put up the maps for me? The public hearing tonight is on resolution number 3883. It's a proposed extension of Kent County Sewage Disposal District Number 1 for 8 properties in various sewer areas. The engineering division performed an audit and found that several properties were administratively permitted to connect to sewer, and tonight we're here to formally add those properties to the district, assuming that the commissioners support that action. There are 5 maps for the 8 properties. Each property has or will be installing a lateral or grinder pump station. 6 properties have already connected and 2 properties remain to do so. There is adequate capacity in the sewer system to accommodate the 8 EDUs, and staff recommends the extension, and the Sewer Advisory Board also supported the proposal at its meeting on May 5th. So the first map is the 4 properties on Barney Jenkins Road. Map 2 is also appears to be Barney Jenkins Road. Okay, so back up one more, I think. Okay, next. Okay, so this is 72 Pickering Beach Road. Next map. 4687 Arthur'sville Road. 7 Hickories Road. I think that's the last map. Is that correct, Mark? Oh, and one more on Ponderosa Drive. So I don't know if you have any questions for me on the properties before you, but I turn it back to you.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the commissioners? Mr. Buxton.
Just one, it's out of curiosity. Ponderosa Drive right there, Nicholas Lane. It was just an empty field, right? It was not planned on being developed. How did it get left out of the, I guess we'll call it the district that's already out there?
So Ponderosa Drive, some of the history on that, mostly because I had a recent customer I was researching their billing on. It was an add-on to the project at the time, later on in the project, and at the time I believe 12 properties were connected. I didn't really research why this one wasn't connected previously. So I cannot answer that question directly, but I know that the original district did not address all properties.
Mr. Angel.
Thank you, Mr. Howell. Diana, I know that when we did the sewer to Pickering Beach, the people from Route 9 to Pickering were not allowed to get on the sewer at that time. Are we opening it up now so we can get more people on and lower their bill in that area?
There's a capacity issue. So when we reviewed this one, allowed this one to administratively connect, the capacity was reviewed and it was found to be acceptable. It's not expanded fully to everyone, no. I don't believe we have enough capacity to serve all the properties on that. It was not designed for that.
That's what I was getting at. Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Any other questions? Seeing none, at this time open the public hearing and ask anyone that's here in the Levy Court chambers to come forward if they are in favor of Resolution 3883. Anyone here in favor, come forward. Seeing no one, anyone on the phone or WebEx?
If we have any WebEx visitors, *6 will unmute your phone, and you can unmute yourself on the computer at the bottom of the screen.
Mr. James Hester, you may proceed.
Yes, hi, good evening, everybody. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to add into this meeting. My wife and I are moving to Ponderosa Drive 1 week from today from Maryland, Kent County, to Kent County, Delaware. But my realtor actually told me I should chime into this meeting because we're about to have a whole new septic replaced, and we are not sure if it affects that by going to public sewer or if the address that I'm moving to would make more sense to try to wait it out for the public sewer option. If it's not an option, then obviously we go with septic.
Mr. Hester, I'm going to have to interrupt you just for a second, sir. Could you state your full address, and then I'm going to have to swear you as this is a public hearing.
Okay, that's totally fine. It's a Maryland address, so it's 182 Sassafras Street in Millington, Maryland, which is Kent County, Maryland.
Right. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, sir?
I do.
Proceed. I apologize for the interruption.
No worries. I had to give that little intro because I wasn't sure if I was allowed to be on this meeting to begin with. So, as I'm not a resident yet for another week. So as hopefully you can see, my concerns is we're about to replace a whole new septic on a home we're about to move in 1 week to Ponderosa Drive. And then my realtor had sent me this information and said there's a public hearing that you could potentially maybe tie into the public sewer. And obviously maybe that might be an option we would like. But if it's not going to be an option for where our house resides, we'll just obviously roll with the septic. I'm not sure if somebody can speak.
Mr. Hester? Mr.
Yeah.
Hester? Hello. Making sure you can hear me. My name's Eric Bucks, and I'm your commissioner. Welcome, an early welcome to Delaware. I live right down the road, so we can be neighbors, and I can also be your commissioner.
Thank
what
you.
I'd like to offer is to for you to reach out to me, and I can connect you with the Public Works, possibly tomorrow, and we can get that answer for you. We can tie it all down and put you in the right direction. Does that sound good?
Okay. I'd appreciate that because we're in a holding pattern on
Sure.
septic.
So if you have a moment, you can take my number down right now. Is that possible?
Yes, that'd be excellent. Thanks so much.
Sure, 302-943-2832.
2832.
And that's
Thank
Eric.
you so much. I appreciate
Eric
it.
Buxton, sure. Give me a shout tomorrow sometime. We'll connect the dots. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate you having me on.
Sure.
Thank you. Any other calls?
We have any other callers who wish to speak on this matter in favor? *6 on your phone to unmute yourself, or to unmute yourself on a computer at the bottom of the screen.
No one else on WebEx.
Okay, at this time, I'll ask anyone in opposition to Resolution 3883 to come forward. Anyone in opposition? Seeing no one at this time, is there anyone online or on phone?
Any WebEx visitors, same sign, *6 on a phone will unmute you, or you can unmute yourself via your computer screen.
No one in opposition on WebEx.
Okay. Seeing no one in opposition, at this time, unless any commissioner has a question, I'm going to close the hearing on Resolution 3883 and ask for a motion by Commissioner Howe.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we approve Resolution 3883, a resolution upon a proposal to extend Kent County Sewage Disposal District Number 1 pursuant to Section 4606, Chapter 46, Title 9 of the Delaware Code as amended, various sewer areas.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Howell, second by Commissioner Hall to approve Resolution 3883. Have roll call, please.
Mr. Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Buxton?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Maston?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Pepper?
Yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 yeas.
Thank you. Roll call reveals Resolution 3883 has been approved. Continuing on tonight's agenda, next items are resolutions establishing garbage collection and streetlight districts. Mr. Angel.
Thank you, Ms. Galt.
Tonight, the first resolution before you is resolution number 3879. If approved, it will establish the Estates of Verona Woods Garbage Collection District number 185. The map of the properties in the proposed district is provided. Thank you, Mark. And it's basically the same area for both the streetlight and for the garbage collection district. The proposed district contains 151 residential lots. For the garbage district, the petition was received, signed by, and pardon me, I'm probably going to butcher the way this, Alzac LLC, NVR Inc., and individual owners of 10 lots, representing 94% in favor of the garbage collection district formation. 9 property owners did not sign the petition. The cost of annual services for FY22 is $329 for the year. It includes collection of trash, recycle, and yard waste. Based on this information, staff recommends the formation of the district.
Thank you. This is a public hearing on Resolution 3879. Any commissioners have any questions before we proceed to the public hearing? Seeing none, at this time, we'll open the public hearing on Resolution 3879, establishing the Estates of Verona Woods Garbage Collection District number 185. Anyone in Levy Court chambers in favor? Anyone in favor? Anyone online or on the phone?
WebEx visitors, *6 on your mobile phone, or unmute yourself via your computer screen, and you can comment.
No one in favor online.
Okay. At this time, we'll ask anyone in opposition in the Levy Court chambers to come forward. Or we'll ask anyone on WebEx or on phone.
On WebEx, same signal, *6 on your phone, or unmute yourself with the unmute button.
No one in opposition online.
Thank you. Any commissioners have any questions before I close the public hearing? Seeing no one, close the public hearing on Resolution 3883 and, on Resolution 3879, and ask Mr. Angel for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. Resolution 3879, I move to approve establishing the Estate of Verona Woods Garbage Collection District number 185.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Angel, second by Commissioner Maston to approve Resolution 3879. Roll call, please.
Mr. Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Buxton?
Yes, staff recommendation, no negative comments.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Maston?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Pepper?
Yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 yeas.
Thank you. Roll call reveals Resolution 3879 has been approved. Resolution 3880.
Go ahead, Ms. Galt.
Resolution number 3880, if approved, will establish the Estates of Verona Woods Streetlight District number 185. Again, the map is similar to the garbage collection district. It contains 151 residential lots. There was a slight difference here on the petition. The petition was signed by the developers Alzac Lands LLC and NVR Inc., and that represents 88% in favor of the streetlight district formation. The cost estimate for the first phase is based on 27 properties, 8 lights, and a $13.50 per lot administrative fee. This results in an estimated cost of $57.50 per lot per year for phase 1. Based on this information, staff recommends the formation of the district.
Thank you. Any commissioners have any questions? If not, we'll open a public hearing on Resolution 3880 and ask anyone in favor to please come forward. Seeing no one in favor in the Levy Court chambers, anyone online or on the phone?
If you are on WebEx, *6 will unmute your phone, and you can unmute yourself on a computer at the icon at the bottom of the screen.
No one at this time on WebEx.
Thank you. Do any commissioners have any questions before I close the public hearing? Seeing none, close the public hearing, Resolution 3880, and Commissioner Angel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to approve Resolution 3880, a resolution establishing the estate of Verona Woods Streetlight District, number 185, reasons stated by Ms. Galt.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Angel, second by Commissioner Maston to approve Resolution 3880. May I have roll call, please?
Mr. Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Buxton?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Maston?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Pepper?
Yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 yeas.
Thank you. Resolution 3880 has been approved by Levy Court. Next item on the agenda, ordinance amending the fiscal year 21 annual budget. First item, Ms. Maston, ordinance LC 21-11.
Mr. Benjamin?
Thank you, Commissioner Maston. Yes, we reviewed this item last week in committee, and this is a budget ordinance amendment that would transfer funds into the public safety capital budget to help round out funding for the EMS substation project, and $960,000 are requested to be transferred in to the public safety operating capital budget. And also, a second portion of this is for the upcoming assessment project, which we will be signing a contract early next month. For that project, we're requesting a transfer of $5 million into the capital budget under the Department of Finance, which includes the Department of the Division of Tax Assessment, which will manage that project. So that is essentially the budget amendment request. And happy to try to answer any questions you might have before we take public comment. Mr. President, Chairman Maston.
Thank you. Any commissioners have any questions on ordinance LC 21-11? Seeing no one at this time, we'll ask anyone in the Levy Court chambers to please come forward if you are in favor of this ordinance. Anyone in favor, come forward. Or anyone on the phone or on WebEx. If you are in favor, please offer testimony.
If you're on WebEx, *6, unmute your phone, and you can unmute yourself on your computer screen at the icon below. And Chief Faulkner's in the audience also. I'm assuming he's in favor of this.
We have no public participants on WebEx at this time.
Okay. Anyone opposed in Levy Court chambers or on WebEx and or phone against ordinance LC 21-11?
We have no more callers on WebEx.
Thank you. Any commissioners have any questions before I close the public hearing? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing on ordinance LC 21-11 and ask for a roll call vote, please. Oh, we do need a motion, don't we? So, Mrs. Maston, do you want to make a motion on this?
Motion to approve ordinance LC 21-11, an ordinance to amend ordinance 20-04, the FY21 annual operating budget of Kent County, Delaware for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2020, to appropriate funds for a new emergency medical services facility and real property reassessment project contract.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Maston, second by Commissioner Sweeney to approve ordinance LC 21-11. If there's any questions, can we have roll call, please?
Yes.
Mr. Buxton?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Maston?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Pepper?
Yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 yeas.
Thank you. Roll call reveals ordinance LC 21-11 has been approved by Levy Court. At this time, we'll close the public hearings and move to old business. New business, Mr. Maston, got an introduction.
I'd like to introduce into the record Resolution 3887, FY 2022 Sewer Assessment Rolls for Kent County Sewage Disposal District Number 1, KCSSDD Number 1, as listed for public hearing on Tuesday, June 8th, 2021 at 7 p.m.
Thank you. Resolution 3887 has been introduced. Commissioner Sweeney, introduction of Resolution 3866.
Thank you, sir. Introduction of Resolution 3866, a resolution establishing the Ponds of Willow Grove Garbage Collection District Number 172 for public hearing on Tuesday, June 8th, 2021 at 7 o'clock p.m.
Thank you. Resolution 3866 has been introduced. And if I'm correct, we have no executive session tonight. Okay. So, Commissioner Angel, I need you to read number 2, please.
Number 2, sir. Move to go into executive session immediately following the committee meetings on June 1st. We don't have a June 1st.
That would be June 8th. June 8th. Yes.
June 8th for preliminary discussion on site acquisition for a publicly funded capital improvement legal strategy session regarding collective bargaining or pending or potential litigation and personal matters pursuant to 29 Del Code C 10004 B2, 4, and 9.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Angel, second by Commissioner Sweeney. Can we have roll call, please, on the motion?
Mr. Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Buxton?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Maston?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Pepper?
Yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 yeas.
Thank you. Roll call reveals that we will have an executive session scheduled for June the 8th, 2021. Information items. I have one. I don't know if everybody has seen it or not, but we were initially scheduled to have a committee meeting on June 1st, and that's the day after Memorial Day. However, the agenda was very limited, and the agenda for June 8th was very limited. So Commissioner Angel and myself, we combined the two. So we'll do both the committee meeting and the business meeting on June 8th and give everybody off June 1st. Any other information items? Mr.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to report that the U.S. Treasury has released what they call their interim final rule on the American Rescue Plan Act legislation. And I do want to also report that last week we did receive the first tranche of funding from ARPA, as we call it, American Rescue Plan Act. And so there's been a separate account established with our bank to place those funds. And the interim final rule, the way it works is the U.S. Treasury released this document. It's 151 pages long, and it's basically, its mission is to help clarify the 262-page act and how it can be applied. So there's a lot of sifting through to this. And I also can say that the National Association of Counties has been very quick to develop guidance and to put staff on going through line by line to ferret out the things that counties need to understand. And there have been several webinars that I've been involved in to learn more, as well as the National League of Cities. They have a similar thing they're doing for cities, and we get those notices through Mr. Luff at the League of Local Governments, and so I've been jumping on their sessions as well when time permits. And so it's been a learning curve for a lot of folks. There's a lot in this. And just a few things I wanted to report that we need to keep abreast of, and probably need to begin to formulate some plans for how we plan to use this funding. The first is that the interim final rule isn't final yet. It goes for 60 days. There's a 60-day comment period. And then after that, they might make adjustments to it based on questions, based on clarifications that they have to make between, over the 60-day period. And once it's all finished, then it becomes part of the Federal Register on July 9th. That's the deadline, interim final rule. And then it becomes the final rule. The first report that county governments and local governments are required to file with the U.S. Treasury is August 31st. And it basically may be, we received the funding, here's what we're doing with it. Our finance department will manage that reporting. There's a reporting structure that needs to happen. And then the first quarterly report is due October 31st of this year, and then there'll be a quarterly reporting every 4 months. Or every 3 months. And the deadline for incurring expenses is December 31st, 2024. Expenses must be incurred by then, and if you're in like a project of some sort, all expenses must be completed by December 31st of 2026. So give you a two-year window after the conclusion of the actual obligating funds out of this revenue. And so I don't know if at this point I could go on, but I don't want to belabor the meeting, but maybe at the next committee meeting I'll give you a little more report on some of the contents of this. There are two things I would like you to be thinking about, though. In the range of things that you can use this for, there are two that, in my mind anyway, stand out as potential immediate uses. And one is to replace revenue loss that we may have incurred as a result of COVID. And basically the way counties are to measure that is they provided really good guidance on this. You have to compare your current year FY21 situation, FY20 situation to your most recently completed fiscal year prior to COVID, which was FY19. And they also have developed a growth rate factor for the nation, looking at all of the trends of revenue growth historically. And the guidance, and it was reiterated today on a session, and the person from the Treasury pointed this out, that there's a growth factor of 4.1% that you can assume that your revenue would have grown to without COVID. And then you can use the funding up to that level. So our finance department would need to calculate that. But I think that's significant, and we did obviously lose some revenue in various areas, and mainly fee revenue, that just things weren't happening that we were normally be collecting fees on. And I would suggest that we elevate that to a higher priority. And then the second one is premium pay for essential workers. There's a generous allowance in the legislation for premium pay for essential workers. And normally we have essential workers in our public safety department and our public works department. And during the emergency, we declared all of our facilities personnel, our custodians, as essential as well. And the way it's worded is that the essential component can go back as early as January 27th, 2020, up until the present, and we're still under, the pandemic emergency, so it's ongoing. This would be something that would need to be decided how you would want to do it, but there's an upper limit on how much premium pay you can provide. It caps out at $13 an hour above the base, and $25,000 per year per person. So I would just urge that you be thinking about those two as early steps, and then we can look at some of the other things that we may want to do as well to assist the community at large, with the impacts of COVID, the negative economic impacts that have happened, as well as some of the allowances for sewer infrastructure, broadband infrastructure, things like that. So, other than that, I'm going to stop. Happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, I'll give a little more in a couple of weeks. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Any questions? Mr. Angel?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to add that we also need to look at making our businesses whole too in our community and our nonprofits that suffered. So just want to get it on the record that we will be looking at that too, and anything else that we so desire to look at. But I just wanted to bring it, that's what I've been getting, so thank you.
Any other commissioners? I guess there's no public comments. Kelly, got to say anything? Any commissioner comments? Anybody online who wants to make any comments? No, nobody online? Commissioner Angel, or Commissioner Buxton?
Just one comment. Mr. Pettit-Demas, you indicated that a couple weeks from now we'll get together to begin the process of discussion. Is that correct? Or will there be discussions leading up to 2 weeks from now?
Well, I just referenced that because that's the next time we meet on the June 8th. But if there's anything that's needed sooner than that, certainly can get it to you.
Guess I wanted to be clear in just stating that. So we've had some very vague conversations, and I agree with you. At least I think starting out with what's obvious and then working up to what will be more complicated, which will probably be the bulk of the money. But my question maybe is, and maybe you just answered it, is we don't need to actively pursue any conversations right now. Those conversations will kind of start in 2 weeks, right? We won't be here in 2 weeks to decide what we're doing, correct?
Correct. I think there's a lot of planning that will be and discussions that will need to happen. Commissioner Angel just brought up a whole concept of some type of an aid to businesses, which we need to have that discussion, because certainly you can provide aid to businesses that suffered economic distress through the pandemic, and also to households and to nonprofits. But we just need to kind of hone in on what our goals are for that and how we want it to look. Is it going to be a grant application? Is it going to be a loan type of situation? What is it exactly? What are their upper limits? And there's a lot of things that we would need to hash out, but getting those ideas on the table and then letting staff run with them and come back with a proposal that we could hone in and turn into a program. I think that's the way to go. The thing about these funds is they're intended to be spent. You can't hold on to them. That's one of the exclusions. It's very clear in the guidance that you cannot use this money to put into rainy day funds or to put in reserves. It is intended, and they've laid out the guidance, and particularly in the areas of spending on economic distress, it's very broad, and it's intended to be broad so that local governments can address it to the best needs that they have in their community. I will say there is a strong emphasis on there's disproportionate impacts related to COVID that directly correlate to socioeconomic factors like income and education and things like that. And there's a strong emphasis on making sure that when you develop these programs that you're addressing these disparate impacts of the disease in low and moderate income areas. So that's something that we need to be cognizant of. We can't just put all eggs in one basket. It needs to be particularly shared with people who've been impacted more greatly than the average population.
And very quickly, because we're not making decisions today, that I think the low-hanging fruit that we discussed a month ago with the four-pronged approach, with the county being the first, and that makes sense. Clean up the obvious first, but that's exceptionally small. As you stated, if somehow we ended up with $1 million, that still leaves $34 million to expend. Then move to the businesses, the landlords, even in fact employees. But the key to that is, and I think we should be very aware of this, is I don't think we should double and triple down, meaning, as you stated in the past, Mike, there's a lot of money out there. And if there's other monies at a higher level that's flooding that area that we're trying to get into also, I don't think we try to fight our way in. So we need to be careful with that, as you stated. Nonprofits are a key example. Fire companies and senior centers. Who doesn't want to help them? Of course we do. There's a lot of money running at them right now, so we need to be, as I stated, I think we can be early with what the county, what we control, which is the county, we can be early with that. We probably need to be on time or late with helping the nonprofits and stuff so that we make sure that all the funding that's already available gets used. Late doesn't mean harming them. And then the last one we do, and the one I'm curious about, is these big ticket items. I mean, what does it mean when we say sewer? Because I can assure you tonight, there are a lot of folks that have big sewer bills that I'm sure I'd love to get rid of for them, if that's what they're talking about, you know? So I don't know what it means. I'm not asking you to define it tonight, but it's weird, you know? Can we put the conservation district on steroids and fix all the flooding problems in the county because it's infrastructure for water? Anyway, that's it.
If I could just respond on that one, there is a very rudimentary way to understand how the sewer water infrastructure spending can occur. It can't, as I understand it, can't be used on past debt or things that you've already done, but it can be used on anything that would qualify for state or federal revolving loan funds money. So there's a revolving loan fund that we use all the time for sewer projects. It can be used for those types of projects. And there's also, we're not in the drinking water business, but we have a lot of communities that have drinking water and maybe drinking water issues. And so there's a separate revolving loan fund for safe drinking water, and it can qualify for projects there. And it can also be used because the Clean Water Act deals with stormwater as well. It can also be used for stormwater infrastructure. That was made clear in the guidance.
Well, now I'm done, Terry. You've seen some of the, does the state fall under different regulations than we do with their money?
No.
Same basic prongs?
Same basic prongs.
So how is it that the state of Ohio is offering a lottery? How is it the state of Delaware is offering a lottery for a COVID vaccination? Is that separate money, or is that?
Well, that may get into an aspect that I wouldn't even naturally study, but there's a whole section that deals with healthcare expenditures and expenditures related to testing and to vaccination. And I'm not sure they're using ARPA funding for that thing that was recently announced regarding the incentives or not. I'm not sure what the source of the funds are, but there may be some way that some of that funding is being used because it's going to promote vaccinations. I'm not sure.
And then we're talking, we're almost done, but I think in Ohio, that's exactly what they said. He was the first one to come out with it, and I was shocked. I don't want to do it. I'm not proposing we do it. But I'm proposing to say we could, so if we could do something what if we gave a lottery out to everyone who can provide that they actually were working during the COVID, pandemic or something? I'm just spitballing, but it was curious when I saw that. Do we fall into that line? Anyway, I've held you up enough.
I think the state has an advantage because they run a lottery program, but.
Lottery, but. curious. Could we get creative with that? I'm not even saying I want to. I was just curious.
All right, any other commissioner comments? Mr. Angel?
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to bring up the clarification. We passed our monies for the chief in a budget or in a meeting, and then we went back and pulled it because we found out there was some unfair inconsistencies, and we are turning it over to the Chiefs Council to help us formulate the funding portion and make it more fair, and then hopefully we'll come up with a policy for future disbursements after this is done, so we have a way of doing this across the board from here on out, so we don't get in this situation again. And then I also want to, we lost a pillar in our community, Mr. Fred Mott, who had I've known him over 50 years of my lifetime. And he worked with the Kent Conservation District for all those years. In fact, we honored him here in Levy Court Chambers in the past. And due to his service, they named the building after him, which I'm glad they did before he passed. And I just see that we're going to have a major void in our community and on the Kent Conservation District because he was the grandfather of knowledge. And it's hard to believe that he's gone. That's all I can say. Thank you.
Any other commissioner comments? Mr. Angel, you're absolutely right about both of those items. Since I got numerous phone calls from police chiefs up and down the county stating that there was inconsistencies between their record keeping and what information the state would come up with, I asked that the checks not be cut until we come up with a fair way to distribute the money. And so I contacted the Jeff Horvath, the secretary for the Delaware Police Chiefs Council, and gave them the information and asked them if they could give us input on what a fair way would be to spread this money out amongst the police department, municipal police departments within the county. And they were going to come together this week and discuss it and come back with several ideas for us to consider. So that's true. And Mr. Fred Mott, yeah, he's a very interesting person. Worked with Kent Conservation District for over 50 years. And matter of fact, he's 92, I believe. And when he passed, and he had just recently stated that he wanted to step back from the Board of Supervisors from the Kent Conservation District. So mainly because he couldn't get to the meetings, couldn't drive to the meetings, and then his health began to fail. So he just did step away. So he will be sorely missed by many folks, especially in the conservation world. So, and I have one other thing. Apparently it's a new standard procedure created by the administrative staff in our office to leave a note on the desk up here when our county administrator is going to be off. So, so this Friday, the county administrator will be off. So, fair warning. And have a good day. Have a great weekend, long weekend. So, if there's nothing else, I ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Mr. President.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Angel, second by Commissioner Maston to adjourn. May I have roll call, please?
Mr. Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Buxton?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Maston?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Pepper?
Yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 yeas.
Thank you. Thank you. We are adjourned.